Let's move on to work with the wires. First thing to do is strip them. To do this with our own hands, we will create a simple construction, which is suitable for cables of different thickness. Let's cover it with varnish and install a blade from an ordinary box cutter. Well, there, the mount is solid. You can check it out in action. As you can see, everything works great. Now let's fix the wires to the wall. It's often unreliable, but we know how to fix it. Just 2 parts. You cannot pull the plug out of the outlet. I don't understand why no one follows this simple rule. Well, let's make a sturdy attachment that will keep the cable from ripping off once again. And move on to the corrugated pipe. It's not hard to fasten it properly too. And it's a totally different thing. It's time to find out how the 3-way switch works. Trust me, it's a very handy thing that lets you control lights from different parts of the room. The important thing is to build the right circuit. Does it look like the outlet's about to fall off? That's not good. We need to fix it right away. Let's take it apart and make it as sturdy as possible. We'll have to use a gun to do it. No, not the one that you're thinking of, just a glue gun. Put the parts back in place. Now it's held firmly in place. Did the light bulb stop working? Maybe it's a blown diode. Let's take it apart and see. We suggest shortening it out. Grab your soldering iron, it's time to get started. And test it. It works. Burnt and shorted. These words often haunt electricians. Fortunately, professionals know how to prevent the problem. For example, you can connect the wires beforehand using this simple principle of stairs. Perfect! All that's left is to connect and insulate everything. This construction is not as sturdy as it looks. Maybe we could add some fire. I think it will help secure everything. However, why assume when you cannot test it? The final touch is that now all the wires are definitely protected. Junctions are the worst dream of anyone who has ever dealt with electrical work. They are so often unreliable. You need to fix the situation. Take note of a few successful and proven tricks. Really solid too. Check out a few more options. You will have to use pliers for these. This is even tighter than the sailing knot. A whole roll of duct tape can be difficult to slip through the small gaps between the wires. And finally, let's make an express phone charger, which will come in handy in case you don't have a regular one at hand.
Our wire here is a bit loose. Luckily, it's an easy fix. Just cut off both ends of the cable clip and hammer it back with a nail. Next, we're making a duster drill bit. Cut the slits into both ends of one piece of paper and leave the other one whole. Create a notch in the dowel and glue 2 pieces of paper inside this notch. Now we can dust off our Sometimes it's better to keep things simple. Here we're using a metal plate and a zip tie as an anchor to secure this pipe to the wall. Instead of throwing away this old shovel, we can turn it into a post hole digger. Scrape off the rust and cut off the shovel blade into a square. Use a vise to straighten the edges and then bend it back into a cylinder shape. Hit it with a few coats of spray paint and now you can start digging. To make it easier to find the end of the tape, most people just fold the tape back on itself, creating a tab. Instead of folding the tape on itself and leaving a tab of unused tape, it's better to fold the tape backwards. It makes the tape easier to grab, and the result is less unused tape. We can make a temporary foam brush to apply wood stain by clipping this small sponge. We can also use another clothespin to remove the old sponge and keep our hands clean. Here's a quick makeshift utility knife. Hot glue a razor blade to the teeth of a comb and let it dry. Now we can cut things like paper, aluminum foil, and foam. Here's a little trick if you have a screw that keeps slipping. Grab a piece of duct tape and put it on the end of a drill bit. Press down firmly. That should give it some extra bite. Every project could use an extra pair of hands. But what can we do if we don't have an assistant? We can build a simple stand using 2 pieces of wood, a single hinge, and some 100 grit sandpaper. We're going to use this extra piece of 2x4 to adjust the height of the stand to the appropriate height. If you need to reseal a glass bottle, we can cut off the top of a plastic bottle and then use a lighter to heat the plastic around it until it shrinks around the edge of the glass bottle. We can turn this old bike chain into an adjustable homemade wrench. We'll secure some square tubing in a vise and weld on one of the ends of the chain to the outside. Then tuck the remainder of the chain inside the square tube. When ready to use, pull out the chain to the appropriate length, squeeze, and then twist. It looks like this chair is a little worn out. We can make use of the legs by turning them into a spray paint turntable. This one is extremely simple. We're not even securing the pieces together. But you can add complexity to fit the needs of your projects. Next, we're making a DIY door closer to prevent the door from being slammed. Essentially, we're welding a nut to some rebar and then welding a spring perpendicular to the rebar. Next, we'll create a frame to hold everything together. Secure the spring, then pass the bolt through the nut like so, and secure it on both ends. Now we'll mount the door closer to the wall, then pass the rebar through the bracket and mount the bracket itself to the door. Now let's build a portable light bulb. Cut off the end of the extension cord for the plug. Glue the base of the light bulb to the plug and wrap the electrical wires around the appropriate screws and tighten. Twist on the casing and screw in the light bulb. Plug it in directly to the outlet. Our wooden clamps aren't as stable as we'd like them to be. We can fix that with a little bit of foam. Cut out some hand-sized blocks using a utility knife. Then heat the bar with a blowtorch. Now press the heated bar onto the foam block and then remove it. We'll repeat this a few more times, and now we've got some foam block stands. Sometimes glue dries and gets stuck in the nozzle, making it difficult to open. We can cut an oval-shaped wood tab to make things easier. Insert the nozzle into the wooden tab and then attach the nozzle back onto the lid. This gives us a little extra leverage. Here's a quick way to hold 2 pieces of wood together while the glue dries. Attach binder clips to one end and then hold everything in place by wrapping rubber bands around the 2 pieces of wood. You can wrap this wire around the thread of a bolt to make a little spring.